full circle. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna say that. And also robbery. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my Doors vinyl collection. If you have not watched the first part, go watch that first. I'll have it linked in the description. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. Where we left off with last was Waiting for the Sun, and now we're on to the 4th studio album released by the Doors, which is the Soft Parade, aka my favorite Doors album. I don't care what anybody says or thinks, I love that album. It is my favorite, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But first, let me show you my copy. Soft Parade has a little bit of ring wear to it, more so on the back than on the front, but it is wonderful. I love the cover of this one. It also folds out into this beautiful drawing of the band members. Just make sure you're seeing that. Soft Parade is actually really hated. I didn't know that until somebody DM'd me and was like, really? The Soft Parade is your favorite Doors album? I mean, I can get Wishful Sinful, but really? And you know, I just don't pay attention to what other people or critics say. I really like it. I think this was highly scrutinized because they were the Doors. People's main complaint with this one, from what I researched, was that it was sounding too mainstream for the time, so too pop of an album. Also, Robbie Krieger was doing more of the lyric writing than previous albums they had done, because Jim Morrison was just sort of in that anxious zone, which I completely understand. It's a dark place to be. He was suffering from anxiety, and he was just really, I think, suffering from lack of creativity or feeling like he couldn't fully express himself. And you know, I've been in those situations where I'm like panicking, like, is this really what I want to do? I don't know if I'm fully giving my all, or I don't know if I'm actually acting on things I want to do. So on top of all the pressure from the music critics, from the industry, from fans, I'm sure it was just such a hard time, and it was a hard time for them to record this album. I think they were on tour when they recorded this, so it was very stressful. They had the singles Touch Me, Wishful Sinful, Tell All the People, Running Blue. I always say this is my favorite Doors album, and it is. And I really don't care if people criticize me for it. I don't care. I love it. It is special to my heart. It's the 2nd Doors vinyl I got, and I love it. One, because I feel like I come from an artist perspective where you can't please everybody. If you do that, you're gonna be miserable. I feel like that is one thing that Jim Morrison probably suffered with, was not living up to everyone's expectations. He was hailed as this sex symbol, this psychedelic pioneer, and it's a lot to live up to. And when people feel like you're not living up to their idea of you, they get upset and can criticize you, and it's very cruel. 2, since I am in the mindset of an artist and musician and singer and all of the above, I think it is important to create what you love regardless of anyone else's expectations. I think that is the true artist, is being true to yourself and what you believe in, regardless of how it's perceived. There are exceptions to this, but mainly I think in a poetic, musicality, fine art, whatever artistic category, I think that that is true. And a lot of people don't like that, especially fans and stuff. And you know, it is great to have the support, and you do need to be grateful for it. However, I think in being a fan of someone is also understanding that they are an artist, and that some things you may not like what they do or what they release. I mean, I love David Bowie. I love David Bowie so much. He's one of my all-time favorite inspirations, artists. Everything he did, I did not like. And I like stuff more that he did previously than he did later, and I love some later stuff that he did, but you know, I respect him as an artist and individual, and I can respect that he was doing what was reflective of his experience at the time. So I appreciate that. I like that, and I try to have an open mind with everything I listen to, and not sort of like look at the critics or look at what people are saying about it or feeling, because you can get caught up in that whole one mind, one hive concept of, you know, that group think. So like I was saying, Robbie Krieger contributed a lot to this album. This was also, I forgot to mention, 1968 Elektra. Regardless, I love this album. I appreciate the effort that they made, even though people are like, this is their weakest effort they made with Jim Morrison. I still can appreciate all the time and work they put into it. Plus, you don't know the hard work you put into going on tour. They were working on this while they're on tour, while they were doing other stuff. Like, it's a lot. People love to compare between previous works that they've done. They're always going to do that. However, I also like to look at a album as an individual album on its own as well. I think you can find some really cool, unique aspects and perspective when you look at it like that. I would describe this album as whimsical, pastoral, avant-garde, surreal. It's very refreshing. I call this one the winter to spring transitional album because I think this feels like a rebirth. This has so many elements of just revival, and it feels like spring is very symbolic of rebirth and revival in itself. So I feel like maybe that's why I was drawn to listen to this album. It's very close to my heart. Favorite track are Shaman's Blues. Now, this one obviously I love because Jim Morrison wrote it. It has these very surreal lyrics. Again, this goes back to the surreal quality that kind of Strange Days had, but in a different sort of approach. Love the blues elements, but also love the sort of jazzy elements that is included throughout this entire album. Yeah, I really like that song. 2 is Wild Child. This one is such a free expression of individuality, I think, and again, the lyrics are incredible. Jim Morrison is an amazing poet. I also love Ray's keyboard playing in this one. The last one that I love is The Soft Parade, of course. This is a great piece of prose, and again, this one especially ties into that pastoral theme, and the lyrics are incredible, and I love the sort of different transitions that this track goes into musically. I feel like it really ties the album up. This track really does. So yeah, that is The Soft Parade. And now this video has come full circle, like the last album that we are going to talk about, which is Full Circle. I know this is everyone's favorite Doors album, and it's their favorite one to talk about. This is one that was released posthumously following Jim Morrison's unfortunate death in Paris. This is the second one other than Other Voices. So yeah, it's not the greatest album. Other Voices actually did way better than this one did. This one was released in 1972, so under Elektra Records. It is the 8th studio album released by The Doors. They released this one because, like I said, Other Voices did really well. And that could be just summed up to as an extension of the LA Woman sessions. And it's, to me, I like it better than Full Circle. Now, it did have the track The Mosquito, which I think is their last single to chart. Without Jim Morrison, though, it just feels lacking. This album is a more jazzy interpretation of The Doors, which I don't really like. I like a little bit of sprinkle of jazz here and now, but it was just weird. This album felt very strange, and it feels very hollow as well. It doesn't have that same sort of poetic depth that Jim Morrison captured through the lyrics that he wrote. I think if this was presented as a different band, though, that this could work in some ways. I just feel like it doesn't work as a Doors record. This album just sadly feels like remaining members trying to look for a continuation of The Doors and just ultimately feeling lost and not finding it, just grasping at straws. I don't really have that much more to say about this album. I like The Mosquito, but feel like without Jim Morrison, there sort of lacks the sincerity behind everything. He had this poetic, raw realness to him. It's just a powerful presence that can't be replicated. I think they were still trying to be avant-garde with this album. I really like the cover and all that it symbolizes and everything. I think they were trying to retain that sort of surreal quality that they had when Jim Morrison was there, but I don't think it works. It can be very extremely jazzy at times, like I think they have one called Vertilock. I love my boy Ray and his keyboard and organ playing, but this one sounds, the way that they were doing it in this album, it just comes off too gospel-y and too like church seminar. And I'm just not a big fan of that. You can especially hear that in songs Get Up and Dance, 4 Billion Souls, and Hardwood Floor. Especially when you have the chorus in the background, you know, harmonizing. I just think the voices are now strong and powerful and noteworthy. I shouldn't say noteworthy. Noticeable as Jim Morrison. They didn't stand out like his did. He had that distinct voice. Delivery and style just wasn't where it was when Jim Morrison was there. All that said though, I feel like the title perfectly encapsulates the album. They're coming for a full circle. Does it both spiritual element as well as the expression, in that I would say they are completely juxtaposed to how they first started. So that works. At least the title is an excellent choice. That wraps up what I have of their studio albums. I still have to get LA Woman and Morrison Hotel and Other Voices and An American Prayer. So I do love An American Prayer, but that will be just to complete their studio album discography. And yeah, this has been really fun. I'm really glad I got to do this. I look forward to doing more of these. Let me know if you're interested in doing more of these, and drop me some artists you might think I have in my collection that I could do a full discography on, or explore deeper into their work. So I really like this. If you like this video, like it. As always, all my links are going to be in the description, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.